Welcome into Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick or at 5 Reasons Sports. You can also follow me to the game tonight if you want. I'm down here. I am back in the belly of the beast, somewhere in the lower level here. And we've got four guys with us. We'll have one more joining. Greg's going to be with us momentarily. Follow Ricky J. Mark at Ricky J. Mark. You can follow Jonathan Romlicon at 3-Piece Combo. Brady Hawk at Brady Hawk 305. And Alejandro, our producer, at Alejandro VG 32. All right, let's get to our sponsors first. Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, also of the Miami Marlins. And also you can find them at 2 kiosks here at the FTX Arena. Now, one of 2 arenas in the NBA named after Bitcoin in some capacity. You can find them at the 100 level and also the 300 level. And this is great beer. Get the Tropical Bay IPA, the Pastime Pilsner. You can find it at your local restaurants, also at Publix, Whole Foods. In fact, Tropical Bay IPA is the best-selling IPA at Whole Foods. There's a reason for that. And this is independent. This is an independent brewery. It's the only one left in South Florida. I know some people think of another one, but that was bought out by a bigger chain. So this is independent South Florida brand Biscayne Bay Brewing. We're also sponsored by our friend Mark Brown, marcbrownpa.com. I don't endorse people that I don't use their services. I'm actually meeting with Mark on something tomorrow. If you're looking for a house closing, you need that to be finalized the correct way. Mark is the person to go to. You also can reach out to him for other legal matters, including estate planning. If you're young with a family, you certainly want to look into that. Don't leave it to chance on where your money ends up going. Make sure it gets to the right people. And Mark's a big Miami sports fan. He lives in this area, and he's also based right there in North Lauderdale, just north of Cypress Creek Road off of Andrews. So reach out to Mark. There's the phone number, 954-566-5678. All right, let's get to it tonight. Brady, who's in, who's out?
Yeah, so no Kyle Lowry for rest. Obviously, Spoelstra was talking about it, just kind of looking at the toughness of the schedule. Makes a lot of sense. Just kind of they had to push him late in those 2 back-to-back games, especially because they were so close. He played it out in the fourth quarter. And then they said they rolled it over into Utah. Obviously, no Bam Adebayo as well, which is another thing is back-to-back. The swelling of the knee, kind of trying to get that down. And no Markieff Morris, who was back down in Miami, which we were kind of wondering what was going to happen there. I think he's probably waiting out to play November 29th. That'll probably be his comeback date. But obviously, I think that starting lineup stays the same. I think they just insert Jimmy for Kyle, and I think you have, once again, Tyler and Dedmon, filling in the holes of the starting lineup.
All right, so we expect Tyler to start, Greg, because earlier in the season you would have started Vincent here.
Yeah, no, I think you do. You start Hero. He started recently, and he's playing well, and you should reward him for that. I feel like Gabe is not doing enough offensively to warrant him starting. So to me, it's like Hero's playing the minutes anyway, so start him. And it's not going to impact his 6th man of the year candidacy because he'll go back to the bench eventually. So I feel like in a game like tonight, when you need all your firepower up front, let's put this team away early. You start Hero.
Who runs the bench then, Jonathan? Like, where do they go there? Because they don't seem to have a clear answer.
I don't think you have somebody necessarily run the bench, but I think you get some production from Max Strus. I think he's going to be the guy that's probably going to give you the most offensive punch off the bench. But other than that, it's going to be tough to find that actual other person to do it. I think you're going to see more staggering. Jimmy and Hero are going to start, but then you're going to have Jimmy go to the bench while Hero runs the offense. Hero goes to the bench while Jimmy runs the offense, and you'll have it more kind of in that style of play. So I don't think you necessarily see one guy come off the bench. I still think you have Hero or Jimmy run that bench lineup.
Ricky, when we looked at the schedule before the season, we knew the first 14 were kind of a bloodbath, although I guess OKC, we figured end of the road trip. That was about the softest way you can end it. But we thought them coming home and some of this schedule would loosen up a little bit, but they get the Bulls and the Wizards a total of 3 times here in the next 10 days. And actually, those are the 2 teams right behind the Heat in net rating in the Eastern Conference, and both have better records. So let me throw this at you. Do you expect either of those 2 teams, not to look too far ahead of the Pelicans, but I think we all anticipate a win tonight. Do you expect either of those 2 teams, the Bulls or the Wizards, to still be sitting up close to where they are now when the season ends?
I think it'll be a better chance of the Bulls doing better later in the season than the Wizards. As Ron Rothstein always says, water always finds its level, and the Wizards are a lottery team. There's no other way to put it. I have no problem being wrong on this, but my belief is that they are a lottery team. They're led by Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma. It should be enough said by that. But yeah, at this point, I'm not too worried about the Wizards. They'll eventually flame out later in the season. The Bulls, however, look pretty good outside of a power forward and a relatively thin bench.
Well, Greg, what do we make of the fact? I was looking again at the net ratings tonight of NBA of teams in the East. Milwaukee is 13th in the East in net rating right now. I mean, they're the defending champions, kind of the prohibitive favorite, I guess, with Kyrie not being there. And they've been flat out awful. Like, I mean, it's not just like 6 and 8. I know they haven't had Brook. I know Chris Middleton's been in and out. Drew's been in and out. But, like, you're talking about defending a title. Now you've got Giannis out there sort of saying, well, there may be another challenge elsewhere. Like, again, the more I come back to this, I think, okay, the Heat got out of their first 14 in pretty damn good shape. They're first in the East in net rating. They didn't have Jimmy for 4 games, Bam for 2 games. This is going to be the third without him. Lowry for a game, Markieff Morris for 4 games. And to me, like, I mean, you could put the Heat as co-favorites in the Eastern Conference at the very least now, considering what's going on in Milwaukee.
And Brooklyn too. I mean, they've been weird, but to your point, Milwaukee, 6 and 8, and then Atlanta, the conference finalist that joined them, is right behind them at 6 and 9. So Milwaukee's in a weird spot, and I think that eventually they'll come around. And right now they're getting a grace period because Chris Middleton was out, and Brook Lopez has been out with a weird back injury that they won't disclose more about, but he just keeps sitting because of it. I think that until those guys get back on the court, collectively, the league is going to give Milwaukee a pass until they get all those guys on the court. But to your point, it's going to be interesting to watch as we turn the page on 2021 and go towards the deadline. Does Milwaukee, if they don't turn this around, do they start to feel that pressure of we have to repeat, we have to keep Giannis happy? What moves can we make? Question mark.
Well, they can't do much, Greg. That's the thing.
You're right. I know.
They're kind of in the Heat's position a little bit, but they don't have an Oladipo.
Brooklyn too.
Brooklyn too. Well, the reason I bring this up a little bit is because as we talk about guys resting, like Lowry is resting tonight, right? Like, I feel like the Heat will feel more comfortable resting guys, which is what they should do, because Milwaukee and Brooklyn have not only have they not run away with the Eastern Conference, but Miami is ahead of both of them, right? I mean, Jonathan, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right there. There is a little bit of comfort being that they're still going to be able to come back, right? Because they have one of the best players. Giannis is that guy. But I mean, we are right now building up that ability to play without using all of our stars. Hero is that guy that's going to consistently be in the lineup no matter who else is going to be out. And I think that's really important because he's kind of carrying the load as far as the scoring goes. So you can kind of put that second guy. Jimmy's going to be more of the playmaker, whilst Hero just focuses on scoring. Same thing when Kyle comes in, right? Kyle's going to have a triple-double where he does a little bit of everything, but Hero is still going to be in the scoring. So now we have that little more comfort where we can pull guys in and out of the lineup. Kind of when we had the Big Three era and you can rest one of these guys, you'll have 2 of them take over. We have 4 really good players in Bam, Jimmy, Hero, and Kyle. So I think you can mix and match who you want to play depending on the matchup. And I think tonight with the drop matchup of Valanciunas, that mid-range is going to be all there. Hero and Jimmy are going to be eating all night.
Yeah, let's transition there, Brady, to Hero. We did a podcast last night, you, me, and Greg and Alex on 5 on the Floor. People can check that out about kind of the, what's impressed us the most about him. I took more of sort of the mental approach with him. You guys all took stuff actually on the court. But then again, Marco wrote a great piece. Check out Marco Romo's piece, which is on the website right now, about how the third-year jump is real for him. I went through the numbers today, Brady. There are only 11 players in the NBA averaging at least 21 points on 46% shooting. The other 10 have all made an all-star team. Although, did Morant make one last year? He would be the one that maybe has not, but he's going to this season. But all of them, for the most part, high draft picks, with the exception of Jimmy Butler. And then you have Tyler Hero. He's right there. I know people were getting me on the technicality of Steph shooting like 45.5%. But the reality is Tyler Hero is there with guys like Giannis, Jokic. That's the kind of company that he's keeping early in the season. What do we expect tonight? For now.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing there is that this isn't one of those things where you're like, this is a fluke thing to start the season. Like, the stuff he's doing is sustainable. Like, he's not just having a lucky stretch where shots are going in. Like, he's able to now, you just touched on the drop coverage where he was able to do that last season. But he's able to do it against switches now too, which is not something I expected this early in the season where they switch out on him immediately. He could pull a guy out and he could take him in isolation and probably do a little more than he could previously. So I think the sustainability of that is something to keep track of. But looking at tonight, like you said, this is a game for him once again. Like he stepped up every time they have two guys out. It doesn't seem as problematic as it once was when one guy was out last season. Like they can have two guys out and you're pretty comfortable against a bad team that you can pretty much deal with them handedly. So I do think they have especially next to Jimmy, I think that's more of probably a better fit than what we saw in the last game next to Kyle and Tyler. Just with the chemistry wise, I think Jimmy knows his role next to Tyler. He's going to get him the ball, and I think we probably see more shot attempts from Tyler than we did last game. And then obviously the continuation of just getting Duncan going. Two guys out, you want to see him get the ball up and try to continue that rhythm over this bad, stretch of games where these are not high caliber teams. Obviously, Pelicans, Detroit, and Minnesota.
We talk about Jimmy. Every time Jimmy has one of these sort of injury-induced breaks, he comes out a house of fire the next game, which is why I'm playing him over in Prize Picks tonight, by the way. Use the code 5, FIV. I think the number is 25.5 for him on points, and I think it was 5.5 assists. He may go over the assists, actually, more so than the points. Feel like the ball's going to be in his hands a lot. But Ricky, looking at that and where Jimmy has been early this season and where they were without him, for a few games. I mean, they managed to survive it, I guess. I mean, they probably win at least one of the two LA games with him. They get the Utah game, which nobody expected them to win without him. And then they get the OKC game, which I think would have been a win under any circumstances. Are they less, in your view, have they proven they're less reliant on him this year?
Not yet. It's still early. What we saw in the last week and a half has definitely been encouraging, to say the least. But I will hold off until January before saying they've proven that. That said, it's good to see that this team doesn't completely fall apart without Jimmy Butler. And in part, I think that has something to do with what Tyler has been able to do on the offensive end. And if there's one thing that I'd like to bring up with regards to Tyler, for example, is he's been pretty admirable on defense too. He hasn't been the liability I thought he would be last season or even coming out of college. And that has been very helpful for this team's ability to maintain their defensive intensity without Jimmy Butler on the floor.
Yeah, and we talked about that. We got into that a little last night on 5 on the Floor. I think some of that is that he can't be hunted as easily now because they're covering up for him because they have more good defenders on the floor. But I think some of it is just a credit to him. I think it's his strength. He's not getting blown up on screens as much. He's trying, and he also seems to be in the right position. And athletically, he's done enough. By the way, you mentioned his draft class. He's now 4th in points per game in his draft class. He's 4th in win shares in his draft class. This is another case of the Heat getting a guy who was much better than his draft position because Bam is top 3 in his categories. These are guys they drafted at the back end of the lottery. Let's get to this quickly, to the picks, and then I encourage everybody to watch the pregame show, the rest of it with Alejandro the rest of the way, and we're going to do a prize pick show with Dave and Dave here in a second from the arena. Does anybody like the Heat by fewer than 10 tonight? I think that was the number.
Sure. I'll be that guy.
You think this is going to be tight? How do they make it tight? Is it just Ingram?
Trap. The same thing I was saying before the Celtics game. We were supposed to win that game, and we didn't. I'm not saying Miami's going to lose to the Pelicans tonight, but they've sucked lately. And this is the kind of situation where it's like, oh, yeah, we're back home. We should be all right. Things are good. And then the Pelicans come in reinvigorated after some, players-only meeting we haven't heard about, and they come in and smack Miami. It's possible. This is basketball. I don't see why not.
Who's the random scrub Heat killer tonight, guys? Give me the name.
Nikhil Alexander Walker.
I'm going to go Josh Hart. That sounds like a good one.
That's a guy I've always wanted to see
over the last 2 weeks, so that's a good bet there.
Yeah, I mean that's the guy I've wanted to see in a Heat uniform, actually. Like you talk about a combo guard off the bench, he would be a perfect fit.
The line's down to 6.5, Ethan, just so you know.
Well, I think that's the Bam-related thing. It was at 9.5 earlier today. I think Bam and Lowry both being out dropped at 3 points. 6.5, guys, I don't know. At BetUS, using the code 5, I might play that one. I feel like coming home, I don't think this is going to be particularly close tonight. The whole random scrub Heat killer thing. The Pelicans, I understand what you're saying, Ricky. They are a disaster right now. Like, they are a disaster, like, inside the organization. I don't know that David Griffin's going to make it to halfway through the season. The rebuild hasn't worked. Zion, what's his timetable exactly? It's just, and they're on national TV all the damn time.
They just blew an 18-point lead to Washington.
Exactly. To me, this is a 15-point Heat win tonight. So.
Hey, the 72 win Bulls lost 10 games that season.
And one of them was to the Heat and Rex Chapman with 8 players, right? So we do remember that one. So
I was in attendance.
No question. I was not, but I know where that was one of those where you were games. Brady was 7 years away from being born.
Damn.
I picked that up on the top of my head. All right, guys. Any closing thoughts? I'll let Jonathan close on this one. What do you got?
No Bam. We got to make sure we shoot the 3 well. I mean, we do that typically better when he's not here. 18 threes against OKC without Bam, and New Orleans allows 38% from deep. Punish the undisciplined play. They allow 15 turnovers, which is 22nd in the league. They're 26 in fouls at 20 fouls in the league. So I think Jimmy takes care of that. And I think we got to push the pace, even though we don't have Kyle Lowry. I think although we have since we have a smaller lineup, we're gonna have to push that pace and limit the offensive rebound of Valanciunas.
All right. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to Mark Brown, PA.com. Make sure you reach out to Mark if you need any help with estate planning, closing on your real estate as well. Make sure you read Marco's story on the site because it's well worth the time. Also, of course, Brady's work. He just did a piece on Duncan Robinson where he's getting his shots this year. So another topic we didn't talk about Duncan at all in the pregame. I feel like
the game didn't even start yet.
But I feel like maybe that's because Duncan made some shots for 2 games, so it's not as in the forefront of our minds right now. We'll be back for Post Up 5R. There you go. They're Post Up 5R, Royal after the game. And Greg and I and Alex will be down here with me tonight, and we'll be on the podcast. Have a good night.
Clutch Corner takeover on the post game.
There you go. So remember to join us for Pace and Spaces during halftime. As soon as the second quarter is over, go ahead and go to Twitter. And that's Ricky. What's up, Ricky? Oh, he left. So Pace and Spaces at halftime, and then the post-up show as soon as the game's over. The post-game show here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel with the crew you guys know, hosted by Royal Shepherd. So thank you very much for all your messages, and let's continue. Yes, like our friend Sean says, Pace and Spaces coming up at halftime. People already know. So thank you, Sean. Sean's going to be there with Marco and with Tony. They always do this at halftime. So let's go ahead, and the plan for today is going to be 4 or 5 press conferences and then a little bit of the podcast that the guys did on Tyler Hero, talking about how good have these first games been for Tyler Hero in the beginning of the season. So let's go right ahead, and let's begin with our friend Eric Spoelstra. He's going to be the first one to come up. Let's bring him real quick, and here we go with the pregame show. Miami Heat facing the New Orleans Pelicans tonight.
Keep this brief.
All righty. We'll start with Ira Wyndham and Sun Sentinel. Go ahead.
Personified in a game like that. How heartening is that?
And not as well. I mean, obviously those guys had their fingerprints on a lot of the offensive actions that we were doing. Tyler was really in a great groove in that second half. Kyle just kind of orchestrated everything throughout the course of the game. And Duncan, broke free, at all the key times, the swing moments during the game. But I thought we got really good contributions from our bench as well. Caleb, Gabe, KZ came in and gave us some really good defensive switchability, made some effort plays in the paint, offensively. And, that's something we can definitely build on. Our depth is something that we think is really important to our squad.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Even a guy like Dwayne Dedmon, who started, obviously, most of the time a reserve. Guys, it seems like guys did what they do well. Dwayne defended, got the block shots. Casey gave the hustle. Max gave the threes. Is that sort of critical that guys sort of, one, stay in their lane to a degree, but give you what they can give you to sort of round out a night like tonight?
Yeah, like tonight, with Jimmy and Bam out, I didn't feel at all that guys were stepping outside of their game and trying to do more to make up for those guys being out. They just played their roles and played their roles well. Dwayne was really big in the paint for us. He's our big, so he can really challenge at the rim. He can do it, with great technique without fouling. So even if he's not getting a block, he just has great size at the rim. And, we're playing him in those short bursts. So he was able to maintain that throughout the course of the game. Max is just getting his legs under him, after being out, for a little bit of time. I think each game he's going to feel more comfortable and being in better rhythm.
And then last one for me, because we've been to this rodeo before. So they get it within 8. They have a 14-4 run. How heartening was that PJ Tucker corner 3-pointer to finally give you at least a semblance of an exhale in these type of situations? Thank you.
Well, this road trip was really important for us to be able to go through these shared experiences of close games, game management, learning how to find different ways to win, on the road. So it feels like, really the last 4 games were all similar situations. And I think we just felt a lot more comfortable and more confident, as our team should. The more times you're in those experiences, the more times you're able to find solutions. And, that 3 by PJ was obviously a big solution. And, he just has a way of impacting the game and knowing what's necessary, at different times. And that 3 was big.
All right, up next, we have Anthony Chang, Miami Herald. Go ahead.
Baseball, how big has Tyler Hero's just shot creation been, especially with Jimmy and Bam out tonight? And not just for himself, but creating for others as well tonight.
Well, there's an intentionality and really a purpose with that second unit, knowing where the ball was going to go and how we were going to generate looks. And that didn't necessarily mean Tyler was going to shoot it every time, but that certainly helps when you know where the ball is going to go. And when Kyle was out and Tyler was in there with the second unit, everybody just felt confident that we were going to be able to generate enough offense. And that, we could run some offense through him and we'd be able to find some open looks. And he made some tough ones, but those are the ones he always works on as well.
And then with KZ, you went with him after the first quarter. What did you like about what he gave you there in those Denman minutes in the last 3 quarters?
Well, especially when they went with Muscala, it just gave us another quick, big defender. So we didn't end up having to be in a scramble situation too much, which with that lineup that they have, a lot of times you can be running around trying to chase them, and then that's when the drivers get going. So KZ's, versatility defensively, really helps, and that's ahead of the other aspects of his game while he's developing all those other aspects. But he was able to play to his strengths tonight and gave us a really good boost. I was really encouraged by his minutes. He's been putting in the time. Everybody else on the road trip has really had their opportunities. And finally, KZ had his opportunity and made the most of it. He was ready.
All right, we'll take one last question. Cooper Moorhead, Heat.com. Go ahead.
So you obviously need a little bit of something different from Tyler tonight, but big picture, is he becoming the level of shot maker who kind of creates his own calculus for what is a good shot, what is a bad shot when you look back on the film?
Yes. And if I hadn't seen him so often in our workouts and practices and his summer development, if I hadn't seen all of that, then, maybe you would look at some of these plays and say, well, what else is available? But I've seen him make and work on those shots hour after hour. And he's improved his playmaking ability as well, because most teams now are not just letting him come off freely on pick and rolls. They're either switching and jump switching or trapping him, and his passing and hitting the open guy has really improved. But those traps and jump switches are born out of respect because of his shot making ability, and he's earned that.
And just to follow up quickly, I mean, a lot of teams, you mentioned the switching, but a lot of teams seem to be pushing up on him and pressuring him quite a bit. How is he handling that sort of on-ball pressure when there is no screen? It's just him and his guy.
He's really improved. That's what he's spent the summer in the weight room for, be able to handle that kind of physicality, and his skill level, working on his ball handling, his skills. He's not an easy guy to pressure anymore, not with his physical durability and his skill set, working with Coach O endlessly on his ball handling. If you crowd him too much, he's going by you, or he has a way of being shifty enough to find an advantage.
All right, Coach, that's it. Thank you.
All right, that was Coach Spoelstra again after the last win for the Miami Heat against Oklahoma. So for all of you that are just getting here, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, and Marquise Morris are actually in. This is not correct. They are in. So I'm going to fix it here. Oh, no, they're actually out. Yes, they're out. Bam's not going to be tonight. Neither is Kyle Lowry because he's resting. And Marquise Morris, they're all out. That's right. I'm sorry. I was wrong. The initial thing is right. So Jimmy Butler is back for tonight's game. He had some issues with his ankle in Los Angeles and hadn't played since those games in LA, but now he's going to be back and he's going to be part of the team tonight. So let's continue with more videos as we expect we're waiting for the starting lineup for the Miami Heat. Let's continue now with Tyler Hero.
Good. And we'll start with Ira Winderman, Sun Sentinel. Go ahead.
Tyler, you've been in a bunch of different roles this year. You've started, you've played off the bench, you played with Jimmy and Bam, you played without Jimmy and Bam. Was it a little bit did you sort of feel tonight was a game maybe you had to step up a little more with those two guys out? Was it just the way the game came to you? Was it because it was a 3-a-thon early? Sort of what inspired and triggered your night tonight?
Just really my mentality to come out here and finish this road trip off strong. We dropped the first 3, and I really wanted to finish this road trip strong. Before we get them guys back, hopefully very soon.
It's weird. It's a 2-3 trip, but it feels somewhat satisfying the way it ended with the last 2 wins and the way it was competitive in the last 4 games. In your words, though, how would you sum up the 4-game trip? Thank you. 5-game trip. Thank you.
You're only as good as your last game, and we continue to get better, and we dropped 3, to start the trip, but I thought we played well in those games. We put ourselves in position at the end of the game to get the win, and we just didn't execute. So I think this road trip was good for us. We first real road trip, and we were able to get some things out of it, and I love the way we ended it with 2 wins.
All right, up next we have Cooper Moorhead, Heat.com. Go ahead.
And Tyler Spo was just in here talking about how so much of your offseason work was geared towards, setting you up for better success against pressure defense and guys trying to get up in you and bump you off your moves. How much more comfortable do you feel when guys are really pressuring you and there's no screen, it's just you and the guy?
I feel comfortable, really comfortable, just being able to have the ball in my hands and make plays. We worked a lot on what Coach said with guys pressuring me, having the ball in my hands, and I think with the weight I added, getting stronger really helps with that.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Brady Hawk, 5 Reasons. Go ahead.
Hey, Tyler. It seemed like Duncan was a big spark for you guys in the third quarter specifically, where you kept trying to find him. Just how much do you notice your look shifting once he goes on those type of runs, especially without Bam and Jimmy?
Yeah, we know how valuable Duncan is and what he brings to the table. So, anytime he hits even 1 3, 2 3, whatever it may be, he just opens up the rest of the floor for everyone else, and the rest, and the game really opens up. So, we try to get him going as much as we can in those first and third quarters to really open it up for us.
All right, Tyler, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that was Tyler Hero. Again, we're going to play part of the podcast that Greg, Ethan, Alex, and Brady did on Tyler Hero in his first 14 games this season and how impressive his numbers are in his 3rd season with the Miami Heat. So let's continue with more videos. For all of you that are just getting here, thank you very much for joining us here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. The next one is Duncan Robinson.
Can we get some hands raised, please? And we'll start with Anthony Chang, Miami Herald. Go ahead.
Hey, Duncan. Spo talks all the time about just kind of learning from adversity. You guys face a lot of obstacles this trip, whether it's the incident in Denver, losing Jimmy, the 2 3-point losses, and playing tonight without Bam and Jimmy. What do you think this team could take away, and what did it learn from this 5-game trip?
I mean, I think we learned a lot. Starting the way we started, came out flat against Denver, and then had 2 games in LA where we were up double digits, could have won and lost. So, good teams, you got to learn from those experiences. And then we were able to, hang tough and win 2 games here to close it out. So definitely some positive things to take away. We're still growing, we're still learning.
All right, that's it, Duncan. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Love it.
That was a short one and short and sweet for our friend Duncan Robinson. Just one question. So our friend Sebastian Arias is asking, when is Bam coming back? We don't know. We don't have information yet. So let's see. Let's wait and see what happens, what comes out. I think they're just resting him probably tomorrow against the Washington Wizards. So that would be my guess. I mean, I'm going to be there tomorrow as a fan. So that's going to be a great game. I thought it was not going to be a great game when I bought the tickets, but now it looks like it's going to be a good game. The Washington Wizards are currently in first place in the Eastern Conference. So let's continue now with the next video for you guys here in the pregame show. And the next one is Kyle Lowry.
Kyle obviously was a different team today without Jimmy and without Bam. One, did that change the way you sort of approached the game and the type of assists you got, and your thoughts just on other guys stepping in to fill in the holes and give you these consecutive wins to end the trip?
No, it didn't. It didn't change how I played the game. I was. No, I didn't change the way I played the game or approached the game. I basically, I was out there and fill it out. Tyler had it going. But we just had that was a game where we needed a full team win to get the victory. Guys like KZ wasn't playing much. Had a good night. Gabe came in and gave us some good minutes. Max, come back from injury, gave us some minutes. We just got a team. Like, that was a team win right there. It's a good team win.
And how satisfying is it not to have 2 guys like that and just to find a way to sort of pull through like that?
No, I mean, it's not. A win is a win. Every win's satisfying, to be honest with you. But, it was good to have everyone come in and step up and, next man up type of situation.
All right, up next we have Anthony Chang, Miami Herald. Go ahead.
Hey, Kyle, you've spoken a lot earlier this season about whether it's a win or a loss, just learning from each game and just getting better from each result. What do you think this team, how do you think this team grew during this trip, just kind of with all the adversity it faced from the start?
I think we weren't 100% satisfied with the record, but we played harder, every game, from 1 to 5, and we continued to get better. Guys are, getting the rhythm a little bit better. Duncan, coming up and making more shots. Tyler's continuing to play his game. Then also, getting his last 2 wins, with Jimmy getting some rest, and Bam, tonight getting some rest and getting right, and just kind of figuring things out. Every night we play, it's we just continue to get better as a group and find ways to grow together.
All right, up next we have Cooper Moorhead, Heat.com. Go ahead.
Kyle, on a long trip like this, what do you learn about the defense and how it can sustain 19 out on the road?
I mean, we pride ourselves in defense, so it's not nothing that I learned. I just feel like we have to continue to operate at a high level. We set goals for ourselves. We understand who we're playing against, understand the side of the court, understand that, teams are, they're at home, and we got to find a way to shut off their comfortability when they're home. So the biggest thing for us is just understanding that we have to know what we're going into, who we're playing against, what's the situation, what's the scout.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Kyle, that's it. Thank you.
All right, that was Kyle Lowry, and that interview or that press conference right after the win at Oklahoma to close up the West Coast trip. 2 wins and 3 losses. The first 3 games losses. The first one against Denver, then the 2 in LA against the Lakers and Clippers, and then come back to win at Utah and Oklahoma before getting to Miami tonight to play the New Orleans Pelicans. Thank you very much for all of you that are here with us tonight. And let's continue with more press conferences. But before, we have to tell you the starting lineup for the Miami Heat tonight. We have Jimmy Butler, who's coming back from his ankle injury. He's going to be in the starting five. PJ Tucker, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Dwayne Dedmon. So Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Dwayne Dedmon. That's the starting five for the Miami Heat tonight. So let's continue with more press conferences. We have the last one before we play part of the podcast that the guys did on Tyler Hero's beginning in these first 14 games. But before we go with Max Strus.
And we'll start with Ira Winderman, Sun Sentinel. Go ahead.
Max, what's it like in a game like this where without Jimmy and Bam, it has to come from different ways, has to come collective, and has to come as a group? And how satisfying is it when it does come from a collective and does come from a group and so many guys are able to make up for their absences?
Yeah, it's just the next man up mentality, and we knew other guys were going to have to step up today. Whoever that was, we all stepped up as a team. So KZ played great minutes off the bench. And it's tough, KZ hasn't really played all year, and then he comes in tonight and it impacts the game. So that just speaks to who he is as a person and a player to, prepare himself and be ready for that at any time. So speaks to who we are as a whole organization and a team, just to be ready at all times. And to, whenever somebody's down, we got another guy stepping up and be ready to play.
Was there something specific that made this a three-pointer game? Was it the way they were defending it? In the first half, you guys had 9, you took 40 overall. It really was the difference, your three-point shooting. Is it something they did, or was it just a matter you guys are making threes, so keep shooting them? Thank you.
Yeah. We found mismatches through that, and they weren't defending it very well. So we, found ways to get open, and the shots were falling. So why not keep shooting them? That's how we play. We want to get shots up, and we want to get 3-point shots up, so we took advantage of it and made them tonight.
All right, up next we have Anthony Chang, Miami Herald. Go ahead.
Hey, Max. I think before tonight, Dwayne has never played more than 20 minutes in a Heat uniform. Tonight he played 29 minutes. He's not known as a scorer, but every time he's in there, it seems like the offense just runs really well. What is it about him that kind of helps kind of power the offense?
Yeah, Dwayne just does what he's supposed to do. He's a glue guy and does whatever he's asked. So he doesn't expect the ball. He doesn't care about scoring or anything like that. He's just going to do what the team needs to do. So you got to love to have a guy like that in your team. And, we love his presence, and he helps us out. He helps us out every game just with his energy and intensity. So it's always good to have him on the floor.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Cooper Moorhead, Heat.com. Go ahead.
Hey, Max, just when Jimmy and Bam are out, how does that change where you feel like your shots are coming from, or whether are you anticipating anything different in the offense, or is it mostly same thing for you?
No, it's usually the same thing because those two guys are two of the best passers in the league too. So whether they're in or out, the ball's going to find me in certain ways. It just found me more tonight, so it was just one of those games. But I'm expecting the ball at any point in time in the game, and I'm always ready to shoot.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Max, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Max Strus again after that win at Oklahoma to finish and close up the West Coast trip. So let's go ahead now and play part of the podcast that the guys did on 5 on the Floor, talking about Tyler Hero. So for that, let's get rid of this here real quick, and then let's share it with you guys. And again, for all of you that are just getting here, Jimmy Butler's in the starting lineup tonight. He's coming back from his injury in his ankle, so he's going to be in. Bam Adebayo's out, so Dwayne Dedmon is in the starting lineup as well. PJ Tucker, Duncan Robinson, and Tyler Hero. That's a starting 5 for the Miami Heat tonight. Let's go ahead now and let's enjoy 5 on the Floor, talking about what Tyler Hero has proved so far in these first 14 games of the season.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, also Apple Podcasts, and you can find us on Dash Radio. That's every single weeknight at 7 p.m. on their Nothing But Net channel. Also, check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel for all of our live streaming shows, including Before Floor, an hour before every single Heat game. Greg and I both appear on that nightly, along with Brady, Jonathan, and Ricky. Also, the Post Up 5R show, hosted by Royal Shepherd with his cast of characters. That's every single night as soon as the buzzer sounds. Also, check out 5reasonsports.com. That's our no paywall website. That's where you can find the latest from Brady, Mateo, and others. Again, do not have to pay, but you can check out all the content. Also, check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, including our newest sponsor. Now, this is for a store in Coral Springs. It's called Intense Nutrition. That's right, Intense Nutrition. Everything they do there is intense. They will do the cleanse and detox for you. You can lose 10 to 15 pounds in 10 days. They'll design specific stacks for you, whether for the aging man, the budding athlete, or just to fight cold and flu season. And of course, they've got all your pre and post-workout regimens. So why would you go here instead of one of the big chains? Because you're going to get personalized service. First thing, they're from this area, the guys there, Mike and everybody else, and also they're big Miami sports fans. That's why they're partnering up with us. So go have a good conversation and get yourself a tailor-made sort of treatment or workout program. They'll do it for you at Intense Nutrition. They're not just waiting for you to go in the door, out the door, and all that sort of stuff. They'll actually will work with you and build a relationship. Superior quality and superior service. The Twitter handle is IN_nutritionFL. You can also find them on Facebook and on Instagram at Intense Nutrition, and they're right there on 2540 North University Drive in Coral Springs. Here's the phone number. It's 954-775-0257, 954-775-0257. And now, tonight's episode.
Down to Biscayne. Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Here is tonight's floor plan. I've got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. I've got Brady Hawk. You can follow him at Brady Hawk 305. We might have Alex Toledo, not exactly sure at the moment. But tonight is all things Tyler Hero. We've done a couple of Tyler Hero pods, but now that he's come back from this trip where he is, which, I mean, I put up the numbers today. He's putting up Trae Young numbers. I mean, like, he's right there. I mean, he's averaging 3 fewer points in 1 fewer minute with 1 fewer shot. Not as many assists, but more rebounds per game. And the percentages are nearly identical in terms of field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. He is right there. So he put himself in that category. He said he wanted to be in that tier. So far this season, he's in that tier. He's also doing it on a team that is winning, which Atlanta, even as well as they played last season, getting to the conference finals, is not doing. So what I'm going to do here with Greg and Brady, we're going to start here with Brady. We did not prepare this together, okay? Well, basically, I sent out a group text this morning, and I said, what has impressed you most about Tyler Hero so far? Pick one thing. So we haven't revealed it to each other. Hopefully we don't double up. I hope everybody's got a backup just in case. Brady's the youngest. It's just like, you know, it's just like for Jewish dinner, like the youngest gets to say the first prayer. Brady, I know that may not apply to you necessarily. Go.
Yeah, I'll say the first prayer here. I think it's the mid-range where is a good place to start. Just overall, just how he's grown in that space. Something that I really didn't expect. Like, I think we know what he was as a mid-range player. We look back to last season when they had Goran and they had Kendrick and they had Tyler. They just basically had the same guy copied and pasted as a mid-range guy. Like, we talked about it before the playoff series, and we're like, we're playing Milwaukee against this drop and they can get to the elbow every time. But that was all they had, was a guy getting to the elbow. Now you're seeing a guy that's able to mix it up. And the 2 games in LA, he was 0 for 6 from 3 and 1 for 7 from 3 in those 2 games. And he still ended up with 23 points and 27 points. Like, if that doesn't show growth, I don't know what does. You're seeing a guy that does not phased by the 3-point shot. Like, last season, he was pretty bad when catch and shoot threes. Like, he was not shooting the ball well in that space. And you kind of saw him be impacted as a player because he was not making those shots. Now this year, he's actually making 3 ball. I think it was 45% on catch and shoot threes this season, but it's not even the biggest thing, probably not even the top 3 part of his offensive game that we're seeing. But looking at the mid-range specifically, I think the interesting thing about it is just the difficulty of the shots he's taking. Like, he's probably seeing more doubles this season than anybody on the team, which is not something I expected. Like, I would expect Jimmy and Duncan, for starters, to see way more doubles than him. And I think just from an eye test, it feels like Tyler's just seeing it night in, night out. He gets to his spots. It's not just the elbow. He's shooting, looking at last night specifically, he's getting to the inner wing. He's getting to the baseline. He's just doing what he wants to do, even when he has basically 10 eyes on him at all times when he has the ball in his hand. So I think that's the interesting thing. We've talked about the separation thing time and time again. Like, can he create separation? Can he improve his ball handling? Maybe go one-on-one? And he's doing it in a different way. And the way I was saying earlier today is he's doing it just through his lift. Like, he's just lifting up over the top of guys so high that he did it even his rookie season, to be clear. Like, he was rising up over the top of guys for game, big shots against Philly, just way over the top of guys. But now it seems like the 10 pounds of muscle went into his legs, and he's really going into that area where that's his separation. He gets a Darius Baisley on him, and he rises up over the top of him like it's nothing. So it's like we're seeing his own way of creating separation. And I think that's just the interesting thing, that we're seeing a guy that can score at 3 levels when he chooses, but the mid-range is by far the best part of his game. And it seems like the trajectory of it is higher than we expected even before this road trip.
That was quite a prayer. I don't want to give away what maybe Greg's, or if Alex shows up, or mine, but I think just to add to that, the thing that strikes me most about his mid-range game is the calm that he's playing with. He is playing at his own pace. It's like he kind of has an idea. I don't think 2 years ago even he had an idea what spots he wanted to get to when a play started. It was a little sort of helter-skelter. Now it's like it's at his own pace. And I've said this before, but one of the conversations I had with Dwayne that always stuck with me was he basically said, he told me, he says, I wish I was as fast as I used to be when the game finally slowed down. And that's the thing. It's this mix of when the mental and the physical come together. We saw, I'm not comparing Tyler to LeBron, so nobody aggregate this, but I'm saying we saw with LeBron, the reason that I think people view it, I do at least, as 12-13 as being his best season, it's when he was still at a physical peak, but the mental had caught up to it. Now, in the last 10 years of his career, physically, we see he can't stay on the floor as often. He can't defend on a possession-by-possession basis. Mentally, he's there, but the mental has passed the physical now for LeBron. That's what, and it happened for Dwayne sooner because his knees broke down on him. But that is where I think, again, Tyler has reached this mental level at a very young age, and it is unusual, but it plays into the mid-range. Like, already figured that out, Greg.
He has. So some of that is kind of what I was going to lean into, but obviously there's so much around Hero that we can find other stuff. Do you want Greg Sylvander's answer or Lefty Leif's answer first?
I will take Lefty Leif's answer first.
Lefty Leif says that
I didn't know we were split personalities tonight.
No, I'm joking. So the biggest takeaway from that perspective is there's no one in the league that can even check him. Like it's, I have yet to see somebody rattle him. And to your point about like the game slowing down, there's parts of that where you expect players to just go through stretches where a player just irritates them. There were guys that irritated Dwayne year in and year out that were around the league. And I'm sure that there'll be a guy here or there that can irritate Tyler.
Kirk Heinrich jumps to mind.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great example of somebody that was just pesky or whatever you want to say. Like there'll be guys like that Tyler will come across. But so far, he's just been so poised. If you look at all the great shooters, like even looking Heat history at guys like Glenn Rice, like every time they went up and took the shot, it looked exactly the same. That's what he's gotten to. And he can do it off the dribble, catch and shoot, with people flying at him. He's able to kind of, he's staying poised. And it's to your point, like that's the mental side of it catching up. The ability to finish through contact has completely changed his, like what he's able to go to when the mid-range or the 3-point shot isn't there. So I think that's huge. And now I'm blending in Greg Sylvander. See, I just figured like, let's transition straight to the basketball stuff. But the overarching theme is that like literally, can y'all think of a player this season that has checked Tyler where you've been like, oh man, look, he's giving Tyler trouble? Like it hasn't happened yet.
No, not really. I mean, I think that, the couple games that he struggled with, I really think like it's been more him. Honestly, I just think it's an off night. I don't think it's
like the Boston game and the Denver game. Like I can't
the Boston
think of
and look against Boston and Denver, like the whole damn team struggle. In the games that they've won, he's played well. And reality is in the games that they've lost, with the exception of those two, the Indiana game, the two LA games, he played well. Yeah. And others let them down in those games. It wasn't him. All right, we're gonna get to Greg Sylvander here in a second. Now that we've hit on Brady's. Alex is going to join us, so he'll have to catch up here. But Brady's was the mid-range. That is what has struck him the most. Before we get to Greg's, I want to tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You got to start playing this. It's Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. Your initial bonus will be matched. That's right. So put down $100. You don't have to play the whole 100 at once. You can play 20. Put down $100, and they'll give you $100 to play with. It's a pretty damn good deal. But you can do NBA, NFL, NHL. You can play 2 players together, 3, 4, 5, across sports, across teams. Do the power play to go all in. Do the flex play to go halfway in if you want to hedge a little bit. But what you got to do is go to prizepicks.com. We're seeing new players sign up every day using our code. The code is 5, F-I-V-E. We've got a new Prize Picks show in addition with what I do with Dave Eversole and David Friedman on the NFL. Greg's going to start joining us, as is Brady, on some of the NBA stuff we're doing. So look for that on our YouTube channel coming up this week. But again, the biggest thing, use the code 5, F-I-V-E at prizepicks.com. All right, let's get to it. Brady picked the mid-range. No duplication, guys. Greg, you're up.
Yeah, so in this respect, it really is, and I kind of already alluded to it. I gave away Greg Sylvander's too early, and listen to me speaking in the third person. I'll never do this again on a podcast.
Split personality is the third person, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of week we're having here at 5 on the floor. No, truthfully, it's that ability to finish through contact. It's changed the mid-range game for him. It has opened up things for him that I didn't see coming, and just that base being so stable, you see it on every single shot. It looks exactly the same. I'm telling you, like, go back and watch Ray Allen highlights, and not the Ray Allen dunks, because he had years where he was, yoking on people's heads. Tyler's not doing that. Look at the stuff that Ray Allen was doing off the catch, and just the way he moved and the way that he was always consistent. Glenn Rice's highlights, go watch him. Like Chris Mullen even had some of those kind of highlights. Like he's kind of, what he's showing the signs of is being an elite scorer. And that is something that there's parts of it you can't teach. So the elite scoring, I think, is what I would take away as Greg Sylvander, and no more third person.
Yeah. And the elite scoring, again, when you look at the charts right now, he's top 20 in the league. He's done it while coming off the bench in all but 3 games. He is not leading the Heat in scoring. I know that's what I projected, but he's damn close. He's 2 points behind Jimmy, and I think that number is going to tighten as the season goes on. I think now that they're going to Tyler more, giving Jimmy less of a burden as the season goes on is going to be a priority. There are going to be some games Jimmy plays 25 minutes. If they get a lead, he sits the fourth quarter and Tyler finishes it. I think Tyler may catch him in scoring this year. And it's not anything negative about Jimmy. I just think that's where this thing is trending. But again, we talked about the Heat having to go out and get a scorer who could finish in contact, right? Who could play at 3 levels. And it turns out they have one on the roster, and all he needed was.
Thank you, Drew Hanlon.
Well, Drew
send all of our guys out to Drew.
We got to get Drew on the pod. This is an open call. We've made this before. The problem is when you try to reach Drew, it sends you to something to buy his instructional video, and it's not helping me at this stage. Maybe it'll help Brady or Alex. It's not going to help me. So for Drew, if you want to come on the pod, you can. But that is to me the big thing is that they have a scorer on the roster when we didn't know where the scoring was going to come from, and a lot of it is the finishing in contact. All right, Alex has had some time to sit here now and come up with his, but we've talked about finishing in contact in the mid-range game. Everything else is on the table. Before we come back with Alex's take, we'll tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. It's our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing. This is the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, also of the Miami Marlins. They've got the Tropical Bay IPA, the Marlins Lager, the Miami Pale Ale, the Pastime Pilsner, and they're building a tap house in Miami. That's right. It's going to be open soon, right down the street from FTX Arena. You will find us hanging out there quite a bit. Again, They've got the kiosks, and now we wanted to tell you about them tonight because if you're going to be at the arena tomorrow, they got the kiosks. I believe it's outside of 122, but also in the 300 level. They've got 2 kiosks there. This is the only independent brewery in South Florida. So make sure you check them out, BiscayneBayBrewing.com. You can also find them at all of your local Publixes, Whole Foods, and at many, many, many local restaurants, including Quarter Deck, one of our sponsors. So go to BiscayneBayBrewing.com, find out where you can get it. And again, I prefer the Tropical Bay IPA, but choose what you like. All right. We're bringing in Alex here. We got 2 off the board. What has impressed you most about Tyler Hero this season?
Well, you guys going first definitely made it a lot easier on me. But something I talked about a lot when we would discuss Tyler coming into the season was the 3-point shooting, right? And that's something that was obviously brought up with him because the percentages went down, just a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy, but I just think people expected him to be something closer to what Duncan is. And he's kind of been that from that aspect of his game this season. Like he's doing it on a lot of attempts, and that's obviously just one part of what he's done, right? You guys went over the other things, but not only that, he's doing it while also improving on his playmaking. Like his assist percentage went up by, I believe, 7, while his turnover percentage stayed around the same. He's doing it on way higher usage. And the fact that he's kind of gotten better in every aspect of his game while also still, maximizing himself as a shooter and an outside-in guy, that's really how he's been able to maximize his game as well, right? Like they know that, you can't just kind of give him that shot. There's other guys that you have to close out hard on, and he's one of those guys now. I think if that could have gone the other way, that might have been an issue for him, but it's clearly not. He's just a shooter. He's back to being, I think, that sniper that people expected him to be. And pretty much everything has gone up for him when you look at the advanced stats, and including the win shares per 48. You look at the team, the offensive rating, they're in the top 5, and Hero just has so much to do with that.
It's a great point. I mean, I know people are going to say, well, yeah, he's not only in Duncan Robinson's category, he's out shooting him from 3 by a pretty significant number right now. Although I expect that to close. I think Alex, the other thing about it is, he's getting his 3-point shots in different ways now, right? Like, I mean, it's the pull up, but it's also some catch and shoot. I mean, he just seems, again, more comfortable. If the 3's there, he's going to take it. He's not going to force it. Because you hit on the basketball stuff, and because all 3 of you did, and which is going to leave something on the table for me, which is what I wanted. I'll just get in on the basketball stuff here a little bit, and then we'll go to break and get to my take. But to me, the other thing is he's become a playable defender. And I'm surprised none of the 3 of you jumped on that, but because I know we're focusing on the offense, but I mean, it does seem like his instincts on defense have gotten better. I'm not saying he's ever going to be elite. We know about the short arms, but like he's been like, you're not really worried about him getting hunted on that end. And I think the very fact that we haven't had to talk about it all season is a positive, right?
Yeah, because he's bulked up. I mean, that's like he got in the weight room and now you can't get pushed around. I think that there's just elements of that help on the defensive end. And when you're a hooper, you know what you're supposed to do. Maybe physically you can't get there sometimes, but but I think mentally he knows where he's supposed to be. So that you bring up a great point with his defense. And I think that the more he builds out his body, the more that he'll close the gap in that regard too.
I think, and I want to say real quick that part of it's Tyler Hero just improving on that end. And the other part of it is him being surrounded by a whole team of guys that are all defensive caliber,
Good point.
Guys. Like he's not playing with Goran and Duncan for 20 to 22 minutes a game anymore. So like, I think you're just seeing them be able to not leave him on an island and you have guys around him that are unsure where to go, or do I go help? Do I leave my guy? They just know, like, this is a group of guys that is not only talented defensively, but they just know what they're doing defensively, mentally. So I think that plays into it as well. Just seeing him be able to kind of play his strength on defense, which, as you mentioned, is just playing his instincts, going for a double, going to hit the passing lanes when he thinks he can get the ball. So I think that plays into it as well.
All right. That was part of the show. You guys can enjoy the rest of it here on the YouTube channel. Again, look for it, what Tyler Hero is proving here on the YouTube channel from 5 Reasons. So thank you very much for joining us for today's pregame show as we get ready to go watch the Miami Heat facing the New Orleans Pelicans. See you guys later. Remember, at halftime, pace and spaces at halftime on Twitter, and then coming back to the YouTube channel as soon as the game's over. We're going to be doing live post-up show. So we want to see you there. Have a good night. Enjoy the game, and we will see you later tonight.
Yeah.